is Merida Cristobal. I am the second presenter for today, and I will be discussing the performance-based task for assessing students' speaking skills. So there are numerous activities that teachers can adopt for promoting and assessing students' speaking skills individually and comparatively. So Ellen, in 2002, emphasizes that teachers have a wide range of activities to enhance and evaluate the students' speaking skills both individually and also in group settings. So according to her, these activities will not only help the students to develop their pronunciation, fluency, and confidence, but it will also help the teacher to access their progress effectively. They understand? Yes. Okay. So Ellen, in 2002, suggests a set of assessment tasks that can be adapted for these purposes. So we have constructed response, comparative group work, demonstration, and show and tell. So for constructed response, from the word itself, constructed response. So this is a type of answer that requires the students to formulate their own answers. So in constructed response, it is an open-ended statement with which the learner is asked to agree, and then they will be listing examples to justify their answers or disagree, and then explaining what an alternative answer is and why it was chosen. So open-ended statement, this means that the question or statement does not have a single correct answer. Instead, it will allow for multiple responses based on the student's thoughts, opinions, and reasoning. So, I will give you an example of statement for open-ended statement. So what do you observe with this statement? You don't have idea? Yes. So this from the question, how, meaning it will allow for multiple responses, including reasoning, explanation, like that. So that is an open-ended statement. While closed-ended statement, it has limited responses. Example is yes or no only. So the question is answerable by yes or no. Okay, so what is an example of constructed response which will allow your students to agree and disagree? So example is a discussion or debate. So if I will be giving you statement, group discussion are the most effective way to improve speaking skills. Do you agree or disagree? Agree. Okay, so if you agree, you will be listing example to justify your answers. But if you disagree, you will give an alternative answer and why it was chosen. So do you understand what is constructed response? Yes. Okay, so let's move to comparative group work. So the group performance is assessed here. So the contribution by individual are assessed as well as the group results. So the activities where students will collaborate on a shared task, ensuring that individual and group outcome are accessed. So here in comparative, it is a learning approach where the students is asked to collaborate in a shared task, ensuring that both individual and also overall group outcome are accessed here. So this is a method where it requires a teamwork, accountability, and also a collaboration. So what where you need to act real life situations. And then, of course, you will be having an actions and also a conversation. So with this type of activity, the teacher could access how the students' speaking skills are they improving or they are still the same. So with this assessment, you will be able to determine if you will be going to change your strategies or your strategies is effective. So another example is group presentation. So as you observe in group presentation, there is really a cooperative group work where there are brainstorming, there is teamwork to present their presentation effectively. Do you understand what is cooperative group work? Yes. Okay. So let's proceed to demonstration. So in demonstration, it is an illustration of a procedure with the performance of necessary steps by showing how something is done, and then there will be explanations of results. So in demonstration, it is a teaching and assessment method where the process or skills is illustrated step by step, and then combining with performance, they will be showing how something is done, and then with explanation, they will clarify why and how each step leads to the final result. So, what is an example of demonstration? So, example, do you still remember when you are in high school? Yes. Science experiment. Yes. So, there is process. You will be doing the science experiment, and then they will be explaining how they finalize their experiment. So if they are already done, they will do it step by step, and then at last they will present it in front of their class. They will explain how they successfully done their experiment. You understand? Okay. So next is draw and tell. So students will draw a picture or diagram to present a concept and explain it verbally. So the teacher in draw and tell, it is a teaching strategies where the students will create or draw a picture to present a concept. So concept, this is their idea, but or general understanding of something. So and then they will explain it verbally. So this is a method where it will enhance their visual learning, creativity, and communication skills. So what is an example of draw and tell? Example of this is poster making. You will be drawing something, an idea. Example is against drugs. So and then after you will ask your students to draw a poster, they will present it in front of the class. They will explain why they chosen that idea, why they come up with this idea. So, is there's a meaning behind their drawings? So that is an example of draw and tell. So, the students, as you can observe, the students will speak. So the teacher will now determine if the students is really good in speaking. It's really good in speaking pronunciation. Are they confident? So with that, you will not also just witness how your students deliver their idea, but also you will determine if what you're gonna improve. Are you helping your students to build their confidence? Do you understand? Yes. Okay, so let's proceed to our second topic. The feedbacking in assessing speaking. Feedbacking is a tool in the teaching learning process, especially so in a communicative classroom where the teacher direction is reduced. So meaning, this is a student-centered. So it is a crucial tool in the teaching process, particularly in communicative classroom, where the students are encouraged to engage in meaningful interactions and teacher direction is minimized. So, since communicative learning focuses on real language use, so feedback your students in improving their fluency, accuracy, and confidence without overly controlling their speech. So, here in 2017 gives 6 feedback for positive, as 6 strategies for positive feedback. First, we have using a phrase. So, why do you think using a phrase is effective in communicative classroom? Yes. So, in feedbacking, you will also boost your students' confidence by recognizing their efforts and success, which reinforce a good language use. So, instead of correcting your students' mistakes by a wrong grammar or wrong sentences or wrong pronunciation, you would say, "Great job explaining your idea clearly." So, what other phrase you can use to boost your students' confidence? Good job. So, very good. Okay. So, excellent. So, those are phrases that you can use to boost your student confidence, which also recognizes their efforts. So, number 2 is highlighting accurate and appropriate language use rather than indicating error. So, here, it will emphasize what your students do well, help them develop naturally rather than feeling discouraged. So, example, if your students say, so what is wrong with this sentence? Go. So instead of saying you're wrong, you will just correct your students in a nice way. Yes, she went to school yesterday. So that is a good example of past tense. So with that strategy, you are not offending your students. Instead, they are just motivated to next time they will improve their use of sentences. Do you understand? Yes. Okay. Next is planning the monitoring of speaking skills. So here, the teacher should strategically decide when and how to give feedback. So whether during or after an activity. So mostly, the teacher will monitor the speaking, planning the monitoring of speaking activity. So mostly, as you can observe, teachers, they give their feedback after the presentation or after the performance. So with that, they will, so example, during a role play, the teacher will what? They will take note and then they will observe, take note, and afterward, they will give their feedback after the performance. So, number 4 is adopting a supportive manner. So, here is a warm and encouraging tone will help your students feel comfortable of taking risks in speaking. So, you will boost your students' confidence to speak during your class. So, with a warm and encouraging tone, example, instead of saying that's wrong, you will just say, wow, good effort. Let's try it let's try saying it this way. So, with a warm and encouraging voice, you will not make your students feel scared of speaking during your class. Do you understand? Yes. Okay, so number 5 is encouraging positive feedback from peers. So the student should also learn to support and constructively critique each other. So example, after a group performance, example, the group 1 already done performing their role play. So the teacher will also ask their peers or their audience to give a feedback. So you will the peers, they can share one thing that they like about the performance, and they could also suggest for improvement if they see that the performance of group 1 still need should also help the group to determine what are their needed to improve. Okay? You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So last is showing interest in the content of what students have said. So focusing on meaning rather than just grammar makes communication more naturally in and engaging. So here, instead of focusing on grammar, if your students explaining or sharing something, but in wrong grammar, you should not make your classmate or your students make feel unwanted or no one is listening. So instead of focusing on how he or she use the grammar, you could also focus on the meaning of what they are sharing. So here, if your student sharing in personal stories, you could respond with genuine or curiosity. So you could respond, wow, that's exciting. So what happened next? So with that response, you could make your students feel that someone is listening with their stories. Someone is interested to listen on what they are sharing. So these 6 strategies, teachers can create a supportive and engaging learning environment that helps students develop their speaking skills and also their confidence. So, do you understand?
Yes.
So, that's the end of our discussion. Do you have any question? Okay, so I guess that's the end of our discussion. Thank you.